Welcome to the Healthy Skin Show with Jennifer Fugo, where we're flipping everything you've been told about your chronic skin issues upside down and connecting you with alternative solutions your dermatologist never told you about.
Welcome back to episode 284 of the Healthy Skin Show. Now, I'm often asked by listeners, Instagram followers, and even within my Skin Rash Rebuild group community, how to find an integrative practitioner. Now, that's pretty easy. But what makes it more complicated is finding one who's knowledgeable about chronic skin issues. So I figured I'd address this today. Because the second piece of this question is what unfortunately makes things all the more complicated. I personally and professionally understand the necessity of finding someone who is skin rash literate, since it can make a huge difference in your case. Before you go looking for an integrative practitioner, I need to be honest with you. The term integrative is not an officially coined term defining how a practitioner actually practices. It's more of a spectrum. And I say that because there are some practitioners who call themselves integrative and are more open-minded, but not very knowledgeable about non-medication options and do not use any integrative strategies in their practice. While others on the other end of the spectrum, like myself, are not only open-minded, but regularly utilize strategies that you'd call functional or integrative, and we're adjusting to new research while also thinking outside of the box for new approaches that might improve clinical outcomes. There's a big difference between each side of this spectrum that could impact your care, especially if you're expecting a very integrative perspective, only to discover they don't actually put anything integrative into practice. This has been illustrated to me many times by listeners of the Healthy Skin Show. They hear a particular doctor or expert on the show, assuming that they must be really integrative, only to discover that the dermatologist, for example, whom they saw, never uses anything more than the standard medications in their practice. Now, while I do my best to present research and integrative ideas, unfortunately, not all guests on the show actually practice in an integrative fashion. It's something I cannot control. My guest list isn't a database of all super open-minded integrative practicing practitioners and doctors knowledgeable about skin problems. If it were, the list of guests would be extremely small. So that is one thing to keep in mind. And now a word about practitioners who label themselves as functional, or even certified by the Institute for Functional Medicine, also known as IFM. Now, while yes, a functional approach is a more clear-cut term compared to integrative, you should be aware that the programs that teach about functional medicine do not offer specific coursework that would make them knowledgeable on a functional approach to solving skin problems. IFM and most functional programs out there that I'm familiar with generally consider skin problems like what I discuss here on the show to fall under autoimmunity. And as such, they approach addressing them with a very gut-focused approach, which often doesn't get results or can make things worse, unfortunately. There are certainly some functional practitioners out there who are extremely knowledgeable about certain chronic skin conditions and have a lot of experience working with them. But generally speaking, you should be cautious of assuming that being quote-unquote functional or even certified through IFM means that the practitioner specifically knows and understands the complexity of chronic skin problems. While yes, chronic skin issues like eczema, psoriasis, rosacea, dandruff, hives, and dermatographia typically have a gut component, they are not 100% a gut problem. And what complicates matters is that the way you read a stool test, for example, for a chronic skin problem is very different compared to that of a gut problem or even an autoimmunity case. This is not something that's taught. Only insights that many of us versed in chronic skin issues have learned through clinical experience. And chronic skin cases often do not respond the way practitioners think that they will by using elimination diets either, as diet restrictions are typically the first step in the functional model. It's not uncommon for elimination diets to actually make skin rashes worse, which can leave a practitioner assuming that you didn't try hard enough or you need to actually eliminate more foods. And functional medicine does not teach anything about topical steroid withdrawal. In fact, I'd bet that they just as quickly tell you that you have severe eczema, missing all of the signs and symptoms associated with TSW. The only true training that will teach an integrative approach to chronic skin issues, launching in 2023, is with Dr. Julie Greenberg, who's been a guest on the Healthy Skin Show a number of times. Now, this is a program that is for licensed practitioners only, and it is quite intense, offering the education to practice the way that I and a few others actually practice. And you can learn more about this if you're interested in this episode's show notes. This episode is brought to you by my skincare line, Dermaquel. The beauty of these skincare products are that they are especially crafted for those struggling with chronic skin rash issues based on my research and clinical experience from my private practice. They focus on organic ingredients that are clean like zinc, aloe, and hemp oil that support and calm rashed, dry, angry skin. There's no unnecessary chemicals or additives that can further dry out your skin or mess with your hormones. And I'm so excited for you to add these creams into your routine. Check them out at quellshop.com and use the coupon code GET15OFF to get 15% off your first order. I'll put a link in the description below, and now let's jump back to the video. So now you can see why I said that finding a skin problem literate integrative practitioner isn't so simple. You can certainly use the Healthy Skin Show guests as a place to start, but ultimately it is up to you to vet the practitioner or physician. That may include following them on social media and interacting with their account to see what they are open to as well as what they are not. And consider their approach and attitude toward health and healing. Is it focused on helping you find normalcy and taking practical steps? Or focused on fear-based education about what not to do or eat all the time? That might not be the right approach for you. Many people end up in my virtual practice because they're tired of the unending elimination diet approach to solving their skin problems, and they discover that their personal approach of practicality meshes very well with mine. Now, it's also okay to ask what type of tools this practitioner uses in their practice, such as lifestyle modifications, medication, herbs or botanical agents, nutritional supplements, and even diet modification. Also, ask their front desk staff what type of approach they use and inquire about how they work with clients or patients. And consider their scope of practice as well, so that your practitioner can do what it is that you're looking for. As an example, health coaches are not allowed within their scope of practice to order or review any labs whatsoever, create protocols, recommend supplements, or any sort of elimination diet, nor create meal plans. Now, you can ask if the practitioner is familiar with stool testing or some other type of functional testing that you're interested in, and do they commonly recommend herbs or only rely on medications to address any issues or imbalances found. I would highly encourage you to ask about their training and background in using diet and nutrition in practice. It's okay to ask if they have any degrees or certifications in nutrition, especially since this is not something physicians specifically get much training in when they were in medical school. And if you have a history of disordered eating or eating disorders, and you aren't comfortable doing an elimination diet, ask them up front if they would still recommend an elimination diet to you despite your history. As for their knowledge base for using labs and functional testing to help you, that's a bit tricky. Some practitioners get a ton of training in this area. Now, during my master's, we learned from experts some of whom developed the actual labs, to combine both conventional and functional labs and the data. And I also continue to do trainings and research into using these labs to this very day, while others don't get much or any training at all and instead rely on the functional lab companies themselves to discuss your results, which provide the practitioner with rather generic recommendations for the results. And you should be aware that these lab consultations do not include an in-depth review of your case. And lastly, ask where your practitioner practices. The scope of practice and state laws will determine where different types of practitioners can practice. Some must see you in person at least once, while others, like myself, work entirely virtually. And thanks to COVID, there are more options available online now more than ever. This makes it easier for you to find someone to work with if you live in a rural area or somewhere that doesn't offer many integrative options, or again, you're looking for somebody who has really got that specific health focus or skin focus that you're looking for. Now, I know this is a lot, but it's the best way to vet a practitioner. And for someone dealing with chronic skin issues who is likely listening to this episode, it will involve more work to find the right practitioner with the right approach for you. Because having a focus on chronic skin issues is truly a specialty. It's impossible to know everything about everything, right? So when I get requests from potential clients who have issues and concerns that I don't focus on, like chronic kidney disease, diabetes, or PCOS, and obviously this isn't a comprehensive list, I refer them to practitioners who do specialize in those areas, because that's ultimately what's best for them. Now, I hope this episode offers you clarity on what you need to look for so that you hopefully can find the right person, the right practitioner to support you on your journey. And if you've got any questions or thoughts to share about this topic, head on over to skinterrupt.com/284, as I'm happy to answer them so we can keep the conversation going. And then share this episode with someone you know who is looking for a skin rash literate integrative practitioner to help them find the best practitioner to help support them on their journey. And before you head off for your day, take a moment, rate and review the Healthy Skin Show, and then hit that subscribe button so you never miss a weekly dose of new information, new research, clinical tips, strategies, personal stories, and inspiration that helps support you on your journey to rebuild healthy skin. And then let's connect over on Instagram and online. I'm at Jennifer Fugo. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to digging deeper with you in the next episode.